Man, I was on a live earlier today on TikTok and everything, and we were talking about this, and it really is something that a lot of people need to understand. I run a coaching app for digital marketers, and I teach people digital marketing, and I teach people how to grow their digital marketing business. And I was talking about it today that a lot of times I don't really like change a lot of my content, which is weird, right? Like if you look at some of the things that I was talking about in 2024 versus here, and not a lot has changed. And I thought about that, right? Wherever because at one point I was wanting to like really like push my coaching app, right? And I'm like, what else can I give to people? And then I was like, man, that's kind of messed up because I think that's the biggest problem is we try to add way too much to change your life when we need to simplify it. And one of the biggest things that I could tell you right now is your self concept of yourself is what really will perpetuate and change your life almost more than anything else. So let me bring it back to you, this whole idea about the coaching app, right? I teach people how to tell their story, so strategies, how to go out there and grow your digital marketing business, how to see $10,000 months. But let me tell you something right now. If your self concept of yourself is off, you can have every damn strategy in the world and you're not going to run with it. Because I tell people all the time, what you're mainly dealing with is not even a business problem. You're dealing with a personal problem that's reflecting in your business. And it's happening every damn day. I had a dude hop on my live and one time, and he said, "Hey man, why don't you just go ahead and tell the truth about digital marketing?" I said, "Okay, shit, I'm an open book. I'm truthful as hell. Sometimes I'm a little too truthful because people don't like me very much, right?" And so he said, "Well, digital marketing has a 97% failure rate." And I said, "Oh, 100%." And he said, "Oh, well, at least you admit it." I said, "Yeah, you want to know why?" I said, "People have a 97% failure rate. Let me tell you something right now. If you were to go down in my gym, right, which is like down the street, all right, there's this little gizmo there called a treadmill. I know you probably never fucking heard of it or nothing, but it's called a treadmill. Do you know if you get on that treadmill, you will burn a calorie no matter what? Literally. If you use it, you will burn a calorie no matter what. So that means that treadmill has 100% success rate. It has 100% success rate that if you step on it, you will burn a calorie. How many people are out there burning calories right now? How many people are out there using the treadmill? Right? So that's the thing. Is it digital marketing has a 97% failure rate, or just people in general have a 97% failure rate? Or get this. How many of you guys quote the famous quotes, and you've probably seen it all online, and they always change it, right? Like they say success is 80% mindset, 20% mechanics, or success is 90% mindset, 10% mechanics. I don't care what figure you give it. What they're basically always trying to say is that mindset is the biggest key to success. Well, then why do we spend 100% of our time on the mechanics? See, everybody thinks like their mindset is good because they're optimistic or positive. Fuck that, man. That's only like that's BS. That's only like you're scratching the surface if you're just happening to be positive. I know some of the people that call themselves positive all the time, and really deep down inside on their ass, they're one of the most negative people in the world because their self concept is off. How you see yourself, right, will shape everything. And there's some people that won't even catch themselves because we grew up in a time, well, I don't know, at least for me, I'm an 80s baby. So I grew up in a time where we would say little things like, "Oh man, I'm an idiot," right? You know what I mean? Now, you might say that so much that it doesn't have a harsh, like effect on you. You know what I mean? As much as somebody maybe, somebody else calling you a bitch, right? But every time you say those little things, you're just hurting yourself, right? See, when I started this 21-day boot camp one time, and I do them so often inside of my coaching app. We got one going on right now too, but every so often I run these boot camps, right? And there was one day where I told a lady that I learned from my coach, and I said, "Hey, every day you want to get up and you want to move your body because you want to do da da da." And she said, "Move your body." I was like, "Yeah, whatever you want to do to get the juices flowing. Like me, I like to do push-ups." She said, "I'll do push-ups." I said, "Okay, let's do some push-ups," right? And then I said this. I said, "Now remember, you just said you'll do push-ups every day for 21 days." And she goes, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it." And I was like, "No, no, 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 no. I need you to understand something. This is not me saying you can't do it. This is not me trying to be a male and be like, oh, woman, you think you're going to do push-ups? This is not none of that. This is you told everybody here that you would do it, meaning, right, that you need to understand something. How you treat yourself, your subconscious mind takes an account of. Okay. So at this point, you need to do these push ups each and every day, not because I want you to do it, not because I think so and so needs you to do it, not because I think it's cool to do it, not because, anything, but because you said you would. Otherwise, if you say that you're going to do something and you don't, your subconscious mind takes an accountability of that or takes an account of that. And so therefore it just says, oh yeah, that we bullshit a lot. We don't actually do what we say we're going to do. Check. Oh yeah, we'll remember that. We're liars. Check. Right? So that's what I'm saying. So, when I told her that, she said, damn, she goes, okay, I got it. And she showed up every day and she did it for her. And in fact, there was this one day where she kind of overslept. And one day out of 21 days. So she did phenomenal, right? But it literally broke her down. She was so sad that one day that she was off. And I was like, it's okay. You're all right. It's one day. You know what I mean? Like, you immediately got to get back on track. And so she was like, all right. That was the thing. She did that for herself. Listen, if you really want something, you have to look at yourself differently. Okay. One of the things that, I can't help in this video, we got so many like things that we can talk about when we go into self-concept. Like, number one, right? The Marilyn Monroe effect, right? You know what I mean? Marilyn Monroe put on this certain persona, and guess what? Her confidence went through the roof, and she became famous, right? She was really a nobody, right? But she walked around with this persona. So how you see yourself, eventually the world will catch up. I need you to hear that. Eventually the world will catch up, but you got to start the process. Meaning, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. Meaning, if you don't think you're something, nobody else will. And in fact, sometimes you'll go overboard and you think you're somebody, and then the world doesn't like it. I remember, and y'all can think whatever you want about Kanye West, right? But I'll never forget that he had a Netflix thing called I'm Genius, or Genius, right? Something like that, or Yeezus. No, something like that. But anyways, or it said something like Genius, right? But in that video, if you saw, it was his mom that gave him that idea. Man, he had a good mom. She implanted that in him, and so he ran with it. And he was making beats for somebody telling him, "Yeah, I'm a genius," and they were like, "Yeah, no, you're a genius." Like you could kind of tell they were like saying yeah to him, but deep inside they were like, "Okay, yeah, right." But Kanye just believed it. Now I know. Now look at Kanye doing whatever he does, right? But still, imagine at that moment though, he blossomed into a billionaire for a little bit, right? Or he still is, but you know what I mean. So, but that's crazy, right? So yeah, it got the best of him down the road, but him believing in this self-concept of himself implanted by his own mom, guess what? It elevated in his life, right? So now, like I said, there's so many things that we can talk about, but I want to dial it back to just digital marketing because, mainly my followers on here, they know I really talk about digital marketing and digital products and things like that. Think about it like this. Are you stepping in to your own self-concept of saying, I am a digital marketer? Or are you waiting for some outside circumstance to happen, which is the opposite of your self-concept? I'll give you an example. When I first started trying to make money online, I was just like everybody else, right? Meaning, just want to make like a little bit of extra money, right? That's all I was thinking about. But then it got to a point where I quickly, and I mean quickly, I didn't quickly make the money. I quickly saw the potential and I said, holy shit, this could be like full time. This could be this thing. And no, I didn't even make the money yet. I was just watching the industry. I was watching other people. I was watching how fast their lives were changing, how fast they were making money. And I'm talking about like in 4 or 5 months, you know what I mean? Your whole life can change compared to a long time ago, the way I grew up. You know what I mean? The fastest way that you could really make money was selling, stuff. I don't know if, YouTube lets me say the words, so I'm not going to say the words, but you know what I mean? Like, that was like the fastest way to really, get anything going back in the day. You know what I mean? Unless you had your own business. And, you know, now you could start an online business and in 4 or 5 months, things drastically change for yourself. Like there's people becoming, you know, 6-figure earners in 4 or 5 months. That's insane, right? So this opportunity, but hear me out. When I saw that, I was like, oh, this could be something. And my mentality started to switch to where I was like, no, I'm a digital marketer. I'm an online marketer. And I stopped being the 9-to-5er. So my whole community, my whole coaching they make fun of me because, you know, they'll say, hey, TGIF, Justin, because they know I hate it, right? Because I don't say happy hump day or TGIF. And the reason why I don't is because I stopped. I stopped being like a 9-to-5er. The only people that I saw saying those things were 9-to-5ers that quote unquote weren't really happy with their jobs or quote unquote weren't really happy with their life or just wanted to speed the week up. You ask anybody who gets older than 30 if they want to speed their life up anymore. No, they want to slow it down and go back to their 20s, right? So why do I want to speed this up? It's because they're not happy. But for me, I had to get out of that mentality. So even when I was at work and people were saying, yo, happy hump day, I was like, I just walk over. I would almost act like I didn't even notice them. Because I'm like, sweet, man. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to only get excited on Friday. So my self-concept of myself was, man, I get excited every single day because I'm an online marketer. I get excited every single day because I'm a grateful person. I get excited every single day because I am free from this. Even at the time, I was not. Do you understand what I'm going with this? So your self-concept, how you see yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you look at yourself, what you believe about yourself will be true. The last thing I want to, say, because, I'm running out of time here, and this is such a deep conversation. In fact, put in the comments if you want me to elaborate more on self-concept, or you can get my identity shifting workbook too. But hear me out. Tony Robbins, he says, he has this video where he told about a story where he said, he came home, he was tired, he was hungry from work, and his dad said, hey, go get the salt, right? And he was like, I don't know where the salt is, meaning he was being honest. He was just like, I don't know where the salt's at. And then they were like, no, hey, we said, get up and go get the salt. So, of course, he was mad, upset, because, he's hungry and everything. So, and he was young at this time. So he was like, fine. And he opens up the cabinet or whatever, and he can't find the salt. The salt's right in front of him, but he couldn't see it. He was like, I can't see the salt, or I don't know where the salt is. They were like, get the salt. He was like, I can't find the salt. They were like, get the salt. He was like, I can't see it. And then his dad walks up right in front of him and grabs it out of his face. So he said they actually done studies on this, right? To where your eyes will see it, but your brain won't perceive it. And the reason why is because it causes a scotoma, right? Where the story that you told yourself wouldn't allow you to see what was actually in front of you, right? So I want you to think about that. And then he goes on to say this: we don't experience life, we experience what we focus on. Because in life, there's generally a good and a bad of everything. So if you want to look for bad, you can find bad. If you want to look for good, you can find good. Now, I'm going to wrap this video up with this. Your self-concept of yourself, which is the story that you keep telling yourself, unfortunately, that's all you see. What if you were to tell yourself a different story and experience life totally differently? Because at the time, Tony Robbins couldn't even see the salt in front of him. Some of you, it's like a woman that is beautiful, but she's been dogged so much she can't even see her own beauty. A scotoma, right? So what stories are you believing about yourself? What self-concept do you have? Because if you want to change your life, you want to become a top digital marketer, you want to make a whole bunch of different money, you want to just live completely different, then you're going to have to change the self-concept of yourself.